They were laughing at her. $20 said she'd quit in the first hour. 30 said she wouldn't even make it that long. The Marines were grinning. The Rangers were shaking their heads. Even the Special Forces, guys men who don't smile at anything, were smirking behind their gear. She was about to make them eat every single dollar. But here's the real question: have you ever been underestimated so badly that people bet money on your failure? Have you ever walked into a room where everyone's already decided you don't belong? What happened next at Fort Carson would become the story nobody could stop talking about. Fort Carson, Colorado. 05 for 5 hours. The sun hasn't even cleared the mountains yet, but the urban combat training complex is already awake. 43 acres of concrete hell designed to break the toughest soldiers America has. Shattered buildings, twisted metal, alleyways that feel like graves. This is where elite warriors come to prove they can survive. When cities turn into battlefields, exercise enduring forge. 8 continuous hours of simulated urban warfare. No breaks unless you're medically done. No mercy, no second chances. Most soldiers walk away saying it's the hardest thing they've ever done. Most soldiers. At the staging line, she stood alone. Standard fatigues with no rank insignia. No unit patch. No name tape. Nothing that said who she was or where she came from. Just a woman of average height, average build. Checking her weapon with movements so precise they looked effortless. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez noticed her first. He elbowed Sergeant First Class Williams hard enough to leave a bruise. Who the hell is that? Williams squinted at his tablet, scrolling through the roster. Her name was there barely. Clearance code he'd never seen. No unit designation. No background information. Says she's cleared for full participation. Nothing else. Civilian contractor. Has to be. And just like that, the assumption spread like poison through water. Civilian. Probably some Pentagon consultant. Here to observe, take notes, write reports. She'll be gone the second real pressure hits. Corporal Martinez, 6'2", 220 pounds of muscle and attitude. 2 combat deployments under his belt started. What would become the most legendary betting pool in Fort Carson history? $20 says she taps out in the first hour. His voice carried across the staging area, loud and confident. Private Johnson laughed. You're being generous. I give her 30 minutes. Look at her. 45 minutes, tops, added Lance Corporal Davis. The bets kept coming. 20 minutes. 15. One private said 10 minutes and got laughed at for being too harsh. Another said a full hour and got called a romantic. Not one of them, not a single soldier in that staging area noticed how she prepared, how her breathing was already controlled, rhythmic, like someone who'd learned to manage stress before it arrived. How she checked every piece of equipment twice with the systematic precision of someone who knew that in real combat, a loose strap or a jammed magazine wasn't an inconvenience, it was a death sentence. How her eyes moved across the urban terrain, cataloging angles and distances and cover points with the focus of a predator studying hunting grounds. They saw what they expected to see, a civilian, an outsider, someone who didn't belong. They were about to discover how catastrophically wrong assumptions can be. At exactly 0600 hours, the whistle blew, and hell came to Fort Carson. Smoke grenades erupted across the complex like volcanoes, turning crisp morning air into a thick grey fog. Training rounds paint marking. Ammunition that hit hard enough to leave bruises started cracking through the air. Shouts echoed between concrete walls. Boots pounded on rubble. The sound of simulated warfare filled every corner of those 43 acres. Chaos. Pure, manufactured chaos designed to separate warriors from pretenders. She moved into the smoke like she'd been born in it. No hesitation, no panic, no wasted movement. She flowed through that urban maze with tactical awareness that made seasoned soldiers look clumsy. Every step calculated, every position chosen for maximum cover and maximum awareness. She moved like smoke itself there, then not there, always 3 steps ahead of where the enemy expected. The betting pool participants grabbed their positions at the observation points. Phones out, timers running, grins ready for the moment she'd call it quits. 15 minutes, Johnson announced, checking his watch. Starting to feel real now, isn't it? Except she wasn't feeling anything but focused. She'd taken position at a defensive choke point, a partially collapsed archway that gave her sight lines on 3 approach vectors while keeping her protected from for others around her. The randomly assigned squad members, Marines, Army Infantry, one confused, National Guard lieutenant clustered, closed because something about her presence felt safer than anywhere else. Contact left, someone shouted. Training rounds impacted the wall above her head. She didn't flinch, just smoothly adjusted position, identified the shooter's location from muzzle flash and impact angle, and put 2 rounds center mass before he could correct his aim. Pink paint exploded across his chest plate. He was done. Nice shot, the National Guard lieutenant breathed. She didn't respond, already scanning for the next threat. 20 minutes passed, then 30. At the observation point, Johnson's grin started to fade. She's still moving. Give it time, Martinet said. But his voice had less confidence now. Heat hasn't really hit yet. But when the 45-minute mark passed, and then the hour mark, and she was still holding that defensive position like she'd grown roots there, the atmosphere changed. The laughter stopped. Who is she? Someone whispered. Her squad had taken casualties, 6 members killed by training rounds, paint splatters marking them as eliminated. But the ones still alive were alive because of her decisions. The positions she chose, the angle she maintained, the calm, quiet authority that made even experienced soldiers trust her. Judgment over their own training. From the main observation platform, Colonel James Harrison, 27 years of service, veteran of 3 combat commands, a man who'd seen the absolute best America's military had to offer, lowered his binoculars with an expression of growing disbelief. Major Torres, pull up her file. Now. Major Torres typed rapidly, then stopped. His face went pale. Sir, you need to see this yourself. Harrison took the tablet, started reading. His eyes widened with every line. The service record that appeared wasn't civilian. It wasn't support staff. It wasn't some Pentagon consultant playing soldier for a day. It was operational. History that most people didn't have clearance to even know existed. Deployments to theaters that didn't appear on any public map. Training with units whose names were still classified a decade after their missions ended. Combat engagements measured, not in hours but in days sustained. Operations where 8 hours wasn't a grueling test. It was called a shift. My God, Harrison breathed. She's not. No, sir. She's very much not a contractor. Hour 2 arrived with rising temperatures. Colorado summer heat turned tactical gear into ovens. Hydration became critical. Other soldiers started rotating to rest areas, stripping of helmets, gulping water like they'd crossed a desert. She declined her scheduled rotation, stayed in position, weapon ready, eyes scanning, breathing controlled. The opposition forces fresh. Units specifically trained to overwhelm. Defensive positions hit her sector with everything they had. Coordinated assaults from multiple angles. Suppressive fire designed to pin defenders, while flanking elements maneuvered for killing shots. Smoke and flashbangs creating confusion and disorientation. Standard defensive positions collapsed under that kind of pressure. Hers didn't. She read the assault pattern like she'd written it herself. Repositioning her diminished. Squad to cover gaps before the enemy could exploit them. When they tried to flank left, she'd already shifted to soldiers to cut off that approach. When they attempted suppressive fire, she identified their ammunition constraints from the rate of fire and exploited the reload gap. Staff Sergeant Chun, 15 years in the Marine Corps, veteran of Fallujah and Helmand Province, a man who'd seen urban combat at its absolute worst, came in with his rifle squad at the 2-hour mark for integration and reinforcement. He took one look at her tactical setup and knew immediately he was looking at someone operating on a different level. Ma'am, he said, voice carrying genuine respect. Where do you want ours? She gave him positions with hand signals and 3 words. Chun's Marines initially skeptical about taking tactical guidance from someone with no visible rank found themselves executing the smoothest, most effective defensive operation any of them had experienced. Who the hell is she? One of Chun's corporals whispered. Someone who's done this for real, Chun replied quietly. Shut up and learn. Hour 3. Hour 4. The betting pool had gone completely silent. Martinez sat on a pile of rubble, his $20 bill still in his pocket, watching someone systematically destroy every assumption he'd ever made about capability and endurance. That's not normal, he said to no one in particular. Johnson sat beside him, equally stunned. No, that's really not normal. Around the complex, word was spreading. Soldiers who'd rotated to rest areas weren't resting, they were gathering at observation points, watching the tactical feeds, witnessing something none of them had seen before. A single operator holding a defensive sector against repeated assaults by fresh, fully equipped opposition forces. Not for minutes, not for an hour, for 4 straight hours without break, without rotation, without any decline in tactical effectiveness. She moved through that urban terrain like water, finding paths through rock inevitable, unstoppable, adapting to every obstacle while maintaining constant forward pressure. When opposition forces adapted their tactics, she adapted faster. When they tried something unexpected, she'd already war-gamed that scenario and had a counter ready. Hour 5 brought a tactical shift. Exercise controllers, seeing that standard pressure wasn't breaking her, implemented advanced scenarios, specifically designed to challenge special operations personnel, multi-vector assaults, communication jamming, resource constraints, scenarios where most soldiers would be overwhelmed within minutes. She handled each one like she'd trained for exactly this situation, because she had. Her operational background included deployments where 8-hour engagements weren't tests, they were routine, where tactical excellence wasn't measured by simulation performance but by weather. Your team came home alive. Colonel Harrison stood at the observation platform, watching tactical feeds with an expression mixing awe and professional admiration. Sir, Major Torres said quietly, her defensive sector hasn't been penetrated once. Every other area has been overrun at least twice. She's maintaining complete tactical integrity. I can see that, Major. Sir, other units are requesting permission to coordinate with her. She's become the tactical anchor for the entire exercise. Harrison nodded slowly. An 8-hour exercise designed to push elite soldiers to their limits had accidentally stumbled into someone for whom this level of performance was baseline normal. Hour 6. Fresh opposition forces rotated and rested, hydrated, fully briefed on her defensive patterns and equipped specifically to break through her sector. They failed. She integrated new defensive personnel with the efficiency of someone who'd commanded multi-unit operations under actual fire. Marines, Army, Infantry, even to Rangers who'd initially rolled their eyes at taking guidance from someone without rank taps. All of them found themselves executing textbook urban defense because she understood something most soldiers took years to learn. Tactics weren't about domination, they were about making the terrain and circumstances work for you instead of against you. Hour 7 hit like a hammer. The exercise controllers threw everything at her. Asymmetric assault patterns, civilian interference scenarios, infrastructure failures, the kind of complex, multi-layered problems that had no clean solutions and tested decision-making. Under maximum stress, she solved them methodically, prioritizing threats, managing resources, maintaining defensive integrity while adapting to situations that would have overwhelmed command posts with 3 times her personnel. Martinez had stopped watching his timer entirely. He sat transfixed, watching someone redefine excellence right in front of him. I thought I was tough, he said quietly. I thought 2 combat tours meant something. It does mean something, Chen replied, having joined the observation area. It means you know enough to recognize what you're seeing right now. Most people couldn't even appreciate this. What am I seeing? Someone who's operated at a level we've only trained for. There's a difference between knowing the terrain and living in it. At 1,355 hours, 5 minutes before the 8-hour termination, the opposition forces made one final coordinated push. Every available unit, every tactical advantage, one last attempt to break the sector that had held for nearly 8 straight hours. She met them with the same controlled precision she'd maintained since minute 1. Coordinated fire, tactical positioning, resource management. Her squad, now a mix of Marines, Army, and personnel from 4 different units, who'd been integrated throughout the exercise, moved like they'd trained together for months instead of hours. The assault broke against her defensive position like waves against rock. At exactly 1,400 hours, the termination whistle cut through the tactical noise with authority that instantly transformed combat simulation into administrative conclusion. The exercise was over. Across the complex, soldiers collapsed where they stood. Helmets hit the ground. Gear was stripped off with grateful urgency. Water bottles appeared. The relief was physical, visible. Overwhelming 8 hours of sustained combat simulation had pushed America's finest to the absolute edge of their capabilities. She lowered her weapon with the same controlled precision she'd maintained for the entire 8 hours, scanned her sector one final time, secured her equipment properly, checked on her squad members. Her breathing was controlled. Her posture was straight. Her eyes were alert. She looked ready to go another 8 hours. Colonel Harrison descended from the observation platform with deliberate purpose. His salute was parade ground perfect, held for the full duration. Acknowledgement that transcended rank or position. Outstanding performance, he said simply, but his voice carried weight that made those 2 words mean everything. Around them, personnel gathered. The betting pool participants approached, led by Corporal Martinez, whose cocky confidence had been replaced by genuine humility. He extended his hand. Ma'am, I owe you an apology. And $20. And probably a whole lot more respect than I showed this morning. She shook his hand briefly, said nothing about the bets, the assumptions, the dismissive laughter from 7 hours and 59 minutes ago. She simply nodded, collected her gear, and walked away. That evening, the story spread through Fort Carson like wildfire through drought-dead grass. A woman, no rank, no unit, no warning, had just outperformed entire teams of Marines, Rangers, and Special Forces operators in an 8-hour combat simulation, specifically designed to break elite soldiers. She hadn't just survived. She'd dominated. She'd redefined what excellence looked like. 8 hours. Never yielded. Never broke. Never stopped. The phrase entered military vocabulary immediately. 8 hours never yielded became shorthand for performance that transcended expectation. For strength measured not in how you start, but in how you finish. For proving yourself not through words, but through relentless, undeniable action. Her name appeared in after-action reports that would be studied at military installations worldwide. Her tactical decisions became case studies. Her endurance became the standard. And somewhere, in files that required clearance most people would never achieve, her service record gained another entry, another demonstration, another proof that sometimes the quietest warriors speak the loudest. If you've ever been counted out before you even started, if you've ever had to prove yourself to people who'd already decided you couldn't, if you believe that true strength doesn't announce itself, it simply shows up and performs, then you understand what happened at Fort Carson, and you understand why, when the betting pool was finally settled, every single soldier who'd bet against her refused to take their money back. Because some lessons are worth more than cash. Some demonstrations of strength change how you see the world. For more stories where actions speak louder than words, where warriors earn respect through performance rather than proclamation, where the underestimated become unforgettable, subscribe to Silent Warriors, because the best ones never tell you what they're capable of. They simply show you.